If I know Nicole, she wants
All
to
right,
find that.
commissioners, we are live on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Commission. Education Commission regular meeting notice and agenda for February 23rd, 2021, 6 p.m. Call to order.
I will do roll call. Commissioner Olivia Robledo. On mute, Commissioner.
Present, I'm sorry.
Okay. Commissioner Nicole Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Suzanne Yamas. It appears she is currently absent. Vice Chair David Govea. I see you saying yes, but I don't hear you.
Oh, present? You guys hear me?
Now we can.
Chair Angel Zobo Rodriguez.
Present. All right. And now we have the Pledge of Allegiance led by David Govea, and I will be the flag.
All right. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you. That was exciting. That's all the tech for tonight I can do. All right. Approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I will second it.
All right. Roll call vote.
Quickly though, is
Yes.
Eduardo Solorzano here?
He does not seem to be on the list yet in the waiting room. And I did send the Zoom link, so
Can
I'll
we?
continue with the roll call though.
Should we?
Commissioner Robledo.
I'm sorry. I was looking
This is
for
for
a
the
piece.
vote of the approval of agenda.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Yamas is absent. Vice Chair Govea
Yes.
and Chair Zobo Rodriguez.
Yes. We're now putting the decorum thing on the agenda, so we can just know that it's there and kind of skip right over it. Public statements, written and oral.
Chair and commissioners, we have not received a public statement for this meeting this evening.
Okay. Since Eduardo is not here,
Eduardo
Eduardo.
just arrived.
perfect timing.
He's muted though.
Here he comes.
Sorry, I was finishing a meeting. We have a principals meeting tomorrow, so I was finishing with my director. making
No
sure we got all
worries.
those ends.
Let me properly introduce Commission Matters #1, presentation by Los Angeles Unified School District's Community of Schools Administrator, Eduardo Solorzano, to provide an update on COVID-related matters.
Okay, so do I have the ability to share a screen? And Julia, I know you sent me an email. I didn't see it till a short while ago, but I can send the slides to you so you can post as well.
You have the ability to share screen.
Great. Now let's hope I can do this because I also need grace when I'm dealing with the Zoom and whatnot. And I hear I'm not alone. So extend grace, please, if I stumble out through this.
I see things.
All right, so just real quick, and we'll start here. The reason I want to start with this.
Excuse me for just one moment. Commissioner Suzanne Yamas joined us this evening at 6:03 p.m.
Got it. Okay,
Please continue.
may I proceed?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I want to actually start with the this slide because all the work we do is around improving outcomes for our students and improving access for our students, right? And we have an important deadline upon us, which is March 2nd. So we need to encourage all of our seniors to complete their FAFSA or the CATA so that they're eligible for the primary promise, which is 2 years of tuition-free community college enrollment. So I just want to highlight that. And We at the LDNE have been doing a big push for it. We have a student rally, right, on Thursday to make sure that we motivate the students who still haven't done it to do so. So I just wanted to start with that and highlight that as one of the things that we want to continue to push for our seniors. The next piece, and I think this is the big topic that everybody wants to hear about, right? It's the returning to campus update, and there's the district continues to focus on bringing students back to campus, but we want to do it in the safest way possible, right? And I know we hear all kinds of messages out there from the media and whatnot. So just know that as a district, we are committed to returning to students to campus when it's appropriate to do so, when COVID-19 spread is reasonable, right? And when we talk about averages, one of the things that Superintendent Buhner shares is an average can distort. And one community can have 2 cases out of 100 people, another community can have 15. And when you look at the average being about 8.5 or 9, right, it's very distorted because 15 out of 100 in one community and 2 out of 100 in another is very, very different. So just keep that in mind. And he continues to advocate for clear, consistent, and well understood standards for what constitutes a safe school. We committed to putting in place healthy practices and protocols, and I will share some of those in a minute. And we're also asking health authorities to prioritize school staff so that we can open schools in a safe manner. So to that end, we as a district have developed these safe steps to safe schools. And I'm going to share a quick video that talks about I think Angel, you had reached out and asked about the Daily Pass app. So this video actually explains a little more around that.
In order to eventually return to the classroom, we all need to follow these safe steps to safe schools. Commit to healthy behaviors like wearing your mask, staying socially distant, and washing your hands. 2. Use the new Daily Pass. The Daily Pass is a web tool used to schedule COVID-19 tests and get test results. It is also where you can answer the daily health check questions required to eventually get back onto a campus. 3. Take your COVID-19 test at a Los Angeles Unified Testing site. To schedule your test, go to dailypass.lausd.net.
Mr. Solosano, is there a way to raise the volume on the video?
Spread of COVID-19.
Let me.
If you go up to the top where you're sharing and you click the more button, there's a button where it says share computer sound. It's a little box. If you could check that, it's in the Zoom tools toolbar up at the top of your screen.
So let's see if it's a little bit better now. Okay, thank you. I can hear it well.
In order to eventually return to the classroom, we all need to follow these safe steps to safe schools. 1. Commit to healthy behaviors like wearing your mask, staying socially distant, and washing your hands. 2. Use the new Daily Pass. The Daily Pass is a web tool used to schedule COVID-19 tests and get test results. It is also where you can answer the daily health check questions required to eventually get back onto a campus. 3. Take your COVID-19 test at a Los Angeles Unified Testing site. To schedule your test, go to dailypass.lausd.net. If we all take these safe steps, together we can help stop the spread of COVID-19 and get back to school.
So just coming back, these are the 3 components that we want to make sure we have at every school, right? So we want every student to get their COVID test, every staff member to get their COVID test. Now, after that, we want to make sure that all of us commit to the social distancing, the sanitizing, and the wearing the masks. We previously had San Fernando Middle School, and I wanted to highlight that as a testing site. We have moved it to Telfair Elementary. Okay, so if you have people asking or inquiring what happened to the San Fernando Middle School testing site, please refer them to schedule their tests at Telfair Elementary. In addition to that, I just want to highlight Pacoima Middle School for anybody that is symptomatic. They can schedule their tests there, because a couple of times we've gotten calls here in the office where people say, I try to schedule it and it doesn't let me. The reason it doesn't let them is because they say that they're symptomatic according to the CDC. So if we can also share that message, that would be great. So at this time, who is eligible for testing? All employees, all students, and all household members of a student or an employee. We are getting ready to open again, and I'll share that information right now. So any children that participate in the LUSD child care program is also eligible to get COVID tested. The testing sites are Monday through Friday, 7:15 to 4:15. And Saturdays, they need to check the Daily Pass website because we have a rotating Saturday schedule for pop-ups. Okay. Again, and this actually is the old link, but it's dailypass.lausd.net. The other piece I wanted to share, because I think there's questions out there, and I know we've gotten calls as well from committee members, the district is exploring adding 10 days to the calendar for 2021, 2022. And basically, these are the two options that we share with community members at the last town hall meeting. The first option, we would start August 10th. We go through June 10th, 2022. And when you look at it, we had 5 days at the start of the year and 5 days at the start of the second semester. So in essence, we're shrinking the winter recess. Instead of the typical 3 weeks, we would only get 2 weeks, right? You can see the potential benefits and the potential challenges. Again, the 10 days of additional instruction for social emotional supports is always a good thing. Additional time for advanced placement preparation, and trying to minimize the learning loss between the summer and traditional school year. Some of the challenges in this model is that we have a smaller window, so therefore credit recovery opportunities, enrichment, and intervention may be impacted. Also, given the tradition of families that are used to the 3-week break, they may not return from their vacations in time. And so we may have lower attendance during that first week of the second semester, right? When we look at option 2, we start 1 week earlier than option 1. We start August the 3rd and we go through June 10th. So the end date is the same for both. This one keeps the 3-week winter recess. Again, when looking at the benefits, the same 10 days of additional instruction for social emotional for all students, the 10 days of additional instruction are also balanced between the first semester and the second semester, and they align better with our 5, 10, 15, 20-week grading windows for both semesters. All students have the opportunity to complete credit recovery, enrichment, and intervention, which is not necessarily the case in option 1. And it also supports additional time for advanced placement preparation, as well as minimizing the learning loss. The challenge here is students and staff who participate in summer school programs, in essence, only get 1 week break between the end of summer program and the beginning of the new school year. So there might be a burnout factor that we need to keep in mind in here. And this in turn can negatively impact the attendance for both the summer program as well as the first week of school. And I share this because the Board of Education will be considering adding those 10 days. The parents actually shared a poll with us during our town hall meeting, and we found that basically 2 to 1 of the families who participated in the poll preferred option 2. We have shared this information with the central office and the local district leadership. So this is just a recap of that. If you wanted to have a simpler version of it, 1 starts August 10th, has a 2-week winter. Second semester starts January 3rd. The second one starts August 3rd, has a 3-week winter. Second semester starts January 10th. So those are the slides that I had prepared. In addition to that, yesterday, Superintendent Buettner shared with us, through his update, that beginning March 1st, we are preparing to return to the campus as we were in November. So on March 1st, we have principals and assistant principals returning to sites. we have plant managers, and we have the office assistant, the SAA, school administrative assistants, so that they can prepare the site so that effective March 4th, which is Thursday, then teachers can actually return to the site and volunteer to teach from the site as opposed to from their schools. We will be looking to reinstate the tutoring programs that we had and any in-person services that we had prior to the second closure. In order to do that, every person that needs to access the site would need to complete their COVID-19 test within 3 days of their first day on site. So we're asking them to complete maybe Thursday or Friday of the week before for the people that are returning March 1st. And then the people that want to access the site March 4th, we're asking them to complete it obviously Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. The way and it's I know we say it's an app, and it's really both. It's an app that the kids can download on their cell phone if they have a cell phone, and it makes it really easy for them to access. But they can also do it on their Chromebook. They just go to dailypass.lausd.net. They answer the questions, and then once they take the test, the system automatically connects it so that every kid that tests, student that tests negative, or staff member that tests negative and answers the questions in the appropriate responses would be generating a QR code, and that would be their access to the site. For right now, the system, we want people to practice that. We do have one school in our COS that is field testing the actual QR code. Olive Vista Middle School, it will be scanning those QR codes to see how well the system works. Vaccination, I know that's another question that's come up. So we've opened the vaccination site at Roybal, and that we're following the county's recommendation that it's all 65 and older. Anybody that is eligible who's a district employee can schedule their vaccination at Roybal. In addition, as you probably heard, we're making a big push to open SoFi Stadium as a mega vaccination site. And so the district continues to advocate for us to prioritize school staff so that we can begin to bring back students, more students to campus. So that's what I have to share. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I will do my best to answer those that I can, and look into those that I might not be able to answer at this time. So who would like to start?
Yeah, who has questions? Suzanne, do you have any questions?
No, he was very clear. Thank you for that information.
My pleasure.
That's great information, Eduardo. Thank you so much for coming.
Olivia?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so the custodians and the administrators go back on the 1st, and of course they will have been tested, and whoever is eligible for their vaccination will get it. And then in the reopening, will the district continue to offer the hybrid so that families that don't want to go back to the school site will continue to have that option?
The district made that commitment, I think, a long time ago, right? Even when we are able to return to a hybrid model, any family who chooses to remain on the virtual learning, distance learning platform will have that opportunity to do so. We did a survey as well of families a while back, right before we closed, right? To see what their preference was. And a number of families missed that opportunity. So we will be revisiting that. Once we're closer to offering the hybrid model, we will be visiting the surveys again and offering that opportunity for all families to choose one or the other.
Okay, so therefore, then I have another question. And that will be, so, trying to think of how that could happen and whether it wouldn't be disruptive to children, because you have to reorganize, say an elementary school. I'm going to go there, not the secondary, but the elementary school. So some of the kids will stay home, say in grade 3. And so some of them will go to school. So my concern is, will they have to reorganize those classrooms when they've already been organized according to maybe ability or whatever?
So we will have to revisit that based on the number of responses for the families that want to participate in the hybrid. The other piece is we have to keep the cohorts to a smaller size, right? 12, 13. So they might have to be, even if every student in a class, like let's say Mr. Solorzano's class has 24 kids and 20 of those 24 come back, we want to limit the size of a cohort to 12, including the adults, right? So even there would have to be some reorganization.
Okay.
Yeah, not an ideal solution, but that is the reality that we must deal with in order to keep the cohorts to a reasonable size to follow social
Size.
distancing.
Right.
Ask a follow-up question to that. So when you say a cohort the size of 12, so what threw me there is you said including the adults. So like if Mr. Solorzano's class wants to go back and there are 20 of them that want to go back out of 24 kids, would those 20 kids be divided into two groups of 10 and the teacher be counted as one of, do you see what and would it rotate or
And
does
so
that make it not one cohort because the teacher is exposed to both?
those are the details that we don't have at this time, because obviously that has to be negotiated with the labor partners, right? And we have to come to agreements as to how we're going to be returning
So
to
how
that,
do you
to
define
what the hybrid model would look like. Sorry, what was the question? The
so
second
then
part?
how do you define a cohort?
12 people, right? So what we don't have is the details of is it going to be like, we don't want the adults mixing. We don't want the kids mixing. Obviously, for obvious reasons that we don't want to have any potential spread, right? So that being the case, what we're trying to figure out is, and when I say we, the people that are part of the negotiations team, what does it look like in a safe way where people that have Mr. Solorzano, maybe we'll have Mr. Govea for returning, because I can't have more than say 10 or 11 students, depending if there's a paraprofessional in my classroom, right? So that, and all of those pieces we won't know until one, we have the labor agreements, the side letter agreements with the labor partners. Two, we have the information of the number of parents and families who opt to participate in the hybrid model. And so then we'll be playing this matching game, right? To try to figure out what's the best way to bring all of those students. Olivia, and I don't know who's facilitating, so I'm happy to just call on the hands as I see them. I don't know if somebody's stacking planes, like who's next, who's next.
It doesn't matter to me. I can't see all the little faces right now. Anyway, Olivia, are you good?
No, I have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
So my question is about the teachers. Will the teachers also have the ability to choose to go virtual or having to go in? Will you make a teacher go into school that doesn't want to, is my question.
Well, I think that also falls in the same part of what's negotiated, right? There are some protected categories that we can't force people if they're in a protected category. And so that also comes down to the negotiations with our labor partners. And it's not just teachers. I mean, it's literally all the different, cafeteria workers, the building and grounds workers, the office support staff, like everybody, we have to follow the same rules as anybody in a protected category. I think where it gets a little more dicey might be where I may not be in a protected category, but I have people in my household who are in a protected category.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where again, it's all part of the negotiations, and I'm not privy to any of that information. We won't be until we have a side letter agreement.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can I go?
Sure, Suzanne.
How will the district keep track of any COVID illnesses that occur once students and children, students and teachers get back? Is there a system of tracking people getting sick?
So the daily pass actually, it works in, it's think of it as a dashboard, right? It tells you Eduardo's coming to school, he's going to his second grade class and part of his cohort, and he tested negative. He answered all the questions correctly. So Eduardo gets a QR code that allows him to enter the campus. Once I'm in my cohort, there happens to be student who maybe develop symptoms in there. And so that student has to be isolated, quarantine, whatnot. So every school will have to have an isolation room, a quarantine room. And we have a system of contact tracing and notifying. So the district has developed a very robust COVID-19, I don't want to call it a task force. Yeah, I can't even say task force per se, but a COVID-19 response team that includes community engagement, contact engagement tracing. And whenever someone does, whether they're tested positive or whether they're in contact with someone that tests positive, we're not notified of what it is. We're just informed this person is not to be on site, right? Whether they were positive themselves or whether they're in contact. So that person is not on site until the community engagement team clears them to return to the site. So that is actually being done for
Okay,
both
thank you, Francis.
employees and staff,
Mm.
excuse me, and students, employees and students.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Olivia, are you good now?
I'm good.
Okay, Nicole, how about you go next?
No, I said my thing. I'm good.
Okay, you're good. David.
No, I just want to appreciate him coming. I know this is such an interesting time, and I can see all the work that's going on the district level to try to return things back to, where it needs to be. But I want to thank you for the work that you're doing.
A pleasure. Happy to serve.
I just have a couple of questions.
By all means.
Again, and likewise, I know that things change every single day and you go in one direction and then literally you could just 2 hours later go in an absolute different direction. Regarding the pass, if a student doesn't have a printer and doesn't have a phone and they're doing it on their Chromebook, are they going to walk up to the school and flip their Chromebook open? Is that the idea?
So that's the idea. The idea is they're not
Okay.
printing the QR codes. We're actually scanning in. We can even scan like I can sit here in my office, Zoom with somebody, and have them scan my QR code via Zoom, like with their scanner. We tested it yesterday. So for the time being, for the students that choose to participate in the in-person services starting next week, we're not scanning yet. We're field testing it right now, but we want them to get used to doing the daily pass questions every morning, right? Because then that'll become a habit and they'll generate that. So that once we do return to a hybrid model, the students are already in the habit of doing these things, and employees too. Like all of us who come on site will be generating our own QR code, even though we may not be using it for the time being.
Okay. And secondly, I heard this. I want to reiterate this as a former parent who was well acquainted with calendar change. If local district Northeast parents voted 2-1 to prefer option number 2, please stand on every rooftop and scream as loud as you can. And if you need us to reinforce that information, we'll be happy to, because I've seen enough meetings where other local districts very much value August as summer fun time and summer camps and things that are not an issue for our students. We're not sending our kids to the Poconos or the Catskills. And I want to make sure that, I'm concerned that we're not going to have the 2 weeks added on for this school year, because it means our seniors they've lost two weeks, an opportunity. But for the students for next year, to make sure that there's something equitable for them. It's not going to, I assume that it's not going to be optional which week they start.
No, and so actually, I mean, the board sets the calendar.
Right. And it's negotiated,
Right. So. And so to your point, every single community schools conducted the same poll last week. And we all shared our information, both with the local district as well as with central office, right? Now, beyond that, I mean, we provided the input and we said, here's what our community prefers. And I'm with you. I mean, we had a few vocal voices who said, given everything that our students have gone through, and even in our COS, which it's not allowed, but we had a few vocal voices who said, why are we even adding any? We need to have the break. So and all of that, we we capture it obviously because we keep track of the chats in the Zoom and whatnot. But
Right.
overall, it was 2-1.
I'm just so happy to hear the word balance with the school calendar after it's been 79 and 101 in some previous years that, you know, it took a pandemic to get balance to the calendar. But I very much appreciate it. If nobody has any other questions, I think,
Can
are we all good?
I ask one more clarifying question? So
Sure.
the kids are doing the daily pass now, even at home, even if they're not going in.
Daily Pass just kicked in. We actually just announced it yesterday.
Okay.
We want the students to practice answering those questions, but we definitely, every student who takes advantage of any in-person services, such as the tutoring or small group support that will be available starting March 4th, any student who needs to come on campus will need to actually complete that, because we will ask him upon coming in. We may not have the scanner, but we will ask him, and we have a way to verify that they've actually generated that QR code. As well as every staff member who accesses the site, right? So the whole idea here is we want to also get students used to that. We want staff to get used to it. But once we are able to offer the hybrid model, we want to be able to expedite. So rather than having every person at the entrances ask every single one of those questions to every person coming in, once they have the QR code, it's just a matter of click, click, coming through, click, click, coming through. And that way, when we do get the student whose Chromebook was not charged for some reason and they weren't able to do the QR code right, then someone can help that student without having to get a backlog. So that's the whole idea. But the daily pass was just announced. I did it today. I will be doing it every day just as a habit of practice, just like I do my COVID test weekly. And if we can encourage families now, again, just to participate in that. We in San Fernando Silmar community are approximately 58% of our community participating. So if we do go to a hybrid model, we need to encourage everybody, and they'll have to in order to get the daily pass access.
Thank you very much for that very informative update. And we look forward to the kids going back to school when it is safe.
My pleasure. And I'm always an email or a phone call away. You have my cell phone now, so feel free to reach out. I will log off, but I will put a YouTube on my phone so I can hear you on my way home. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
All right. Presentation from City Manager Nick Kimball regarding guidelines on preparation of staff reports relating to agenda items for commission meetings.
Hello, commissioners. I hope you're all well. So real quick, I just wanted to go over with this commission, sort of the effort citywide with all commissions that we're going through to really just standardize the operating procedures for all commissions. Over the last few years, many of our commissions have sort of adopted their own modus operandi. So we really need to make sure that we get back. I mean, these are all obviously city commissions that are representing the public and representing the city as a whole. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining a professional and relatively standard operating procedures for all of the commissions. So since late 2020, I've been kind of working with each of the departments that do staff a commission to work on ways to standardize how all of the commissions operate. So some of the things that you probably realize have over the past year, some of the efforts that we've kind of undertaken is a regular rotation of chair and vice chair. That isn't something that all the commissions were doing on a regular annual basis. And obviously many of these we want to mirror the city council, process. Again, a commission is a small city council, right? So it should really operate very similar to how city council operates. So we instituted regular annual rotations for each commission of the chair and vice chair position. I made sure that each department sort of went over with their commission that that we need to follow regular rules of order for all commissions to ensure there's proper public input, and that discussion by commissioners on any agendized item is professional and organized. Some like the Planning Commission has actually adopted what's called Rosenberg's Rules of Orders, which are relatively straightforward. You probably all heard of Robert's Rules of Orders, which are pretty complicated and archaic in some instances, but Rosenberg's rules are pretty simple, and it's really just a way that that business is done to make sure that all of sort of the agenda title is read out at the beginning. Discussion is a presentation by staff. Discussion is had by each of the commissioners. They have a certain, they have time to talk, and then you move on to the next commission. And then after everyone's got around, you basically come back and see if there's a second round. So there are definitely different sort of quote unquote rules of order. I'm not sure that you guys have this commission's necessarily been exposed to that yet. But we are working on scripts that each chair can kind of work through, relatively simple scripts for each agenda item, so that everyone's kind of the commissions are working through a standardized way of doing business, and that's important because all commissions are subject to the Brown Act, which means that your discussion needs to be reasonably related to what's on the agenda, and that's for public input and for transparency to the public. So the public understands this is the agenda topic that's going to be discussed tonight. And then if discussion gets significantly off topic, then that potentially is a violation of the Brown Act, because you really need to be discussing things that are related to agendized titles. And again, I'm not saying that this commission or any other commission necessarily does that. It's just things that we need to reiterate from time to time to make sure that all commissioners understand sort of their role as commissioners for the city. And then staff reports, and I directed that earlier this year again for all. Some commissions are like the Planning Commission, which is a little bit more legislative in nature. They do make sort of legislative decisions on certain development and conditional use permits. But they're already kind of used to a very formal process. And they always have staff reports, but many of the other commissions didn't necessarily have staff reports. So I directed staff to make sure that staff reports are prepared for all new business items for discussion. And it's not to create busy work for staff. Quite frankly, most of the work is for staff. But it's really to provide more transparency to the public regarding items that are discussed by commissioners. Really, if right now all the public sees is an agenda title, which may not, fully encompass what's going to be actually discussed. So, in the interest of transparency, a staff report provides a lot more context and background, and then other important related information that can be considered, that can be read by the public prior to the agenda. So the agenda item, so they can decide whether or not the public input is required, or if they want to tune in because it's an item of interest. And it also just lends itself to better decision making by commissions, because they'll have a little bit more background and context for every agenda and all agendized item prior to the meeting. You can formulate, commissioners will be able to use that to formulate questions prior to the meeting if they have a better idea of what the discussion is going to be. It's a transparency and better, more informed decision-making tool to have staff reports for each item. It also helps guide commission discussion and helps assist commissions with kind of staying on point and within the scope of the commission, so that it doesn't necessarily, again, discussion doesn't go too far off topic. And then, there's questions about, whether or not it was an agendized item, whether that's part of the agendized item, what the discussion may have maybe talking about related to the Brown Act, and also, make sure it stays within the scope and duties of each particular commission. So that's really all I have. I just wanted to kind of update this commission on sort of our reasons for instituting some of these operating standards, and make sure that all commissions are doing the best work they can and fully prepared and making the best decisions, and the public's fully aware of the items that are being discussed, so that we can make sure that there's proper public input and proper engagement. So that's all I have to say. And obviously any questions that you have, I'll be happy to address.
Anybody want to go first? Suzanne?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Thank you for coming to the commission meeting, so that way we can ask questions or listen to what the concerns were, to help us understand, and giving us the opportunity to ask questions. So I understand the need for the standardizing our commissioners' meetings. And so I understand goal number 1 is rotation of chairs and vice chairs annually. We understand that. Question about number 2, for following the regular rules of order. I know I heard you say you wanted to standardize this system, and you said some people are using Robert's Rules of Orders and other people are using the Rosenberg's Rules of Order. Wouldn't it be better, wouldn't it be a better option that to be where everybody uses the same rules of order, and then also receive the training in it?
Yeah.
And if you feel that the Rosenberg's is easier, maybe it would be easier to be trained in Rosenberg's. What is your thought on that?
Sure. So the Robert's Rules of Order are sort of standard throughout for city councils throughout that have, a city attorney that tend to, at the city council level, usually have a city attorney that's attending those, and they're usually a little more well-versed in Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's rule, any rules of order are more guidelines on how to run a meeting. Robert's rules are very cumbersome. They are identified in the city council procedural manual for the city council to use. That being said, and we haven't, I'm still kind of talking through this with some of the department heads, but there is a Robert's Rules of Order. The Planning Commission, the Planning Commission follows the Rosenberg's Rules of Order, and I've talked with our city attorney a little bit, and he actually also favors and recommends the Rosenberg's Rules of Order being a little bit more digestible, I guess, for, and I think that makes a lot more sense on a commission level. So what we've been doing is kind of looking around for sort of training guides. I've actually found a training video that's on YouTube for Rosenberg's Rules of Order. It is an hour long, so I want to continuing to look to see if there's something a little bit more Reader's Digest-y. So that's not something that we've necessarily put into place yet as a requirement to follow those rules of order. That's more just something that we're considering, and you may see in the next few months if I can find some good training material. Just to kind of, it's just like anything that you do, when you go get a new job, you have an orientation period, right? So that they, where the, where the bathrooms are, where the break room is, where you punch in, where you punch out, and just kind of the how business is done at your new job, right? So we need to do a better job on a staff and a city level of when new commissioners are appointed, making sure that they are training and they have the tools to understand what their purpose is as a commissioner. It's a new job, right? So we need to have an orientation for you. So we're kind of working through some of that and to make sure we give the tools to all of our commissioners on how to conduct themselves in meetings, how to, what it is, what you're supposed to be discussing, rather than just kind of throw you to the wolves. So we're continuing to look. That hasn't the Rosenberg's Rules of Order versus the Robert Rules of Order. That isn't something that we've kind of decided yet, but it's something that we're just thinking about, and we'll, as soon as we have some sort of training that is applicable, we'll make sure that all commissioners are able to access that.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the last one is the number 3 that you mentioned, the staff reports. So if I'm understanding this correctly, the staff report would be more like an agenda but with attached data or information to help us understand what we're going to be talking about. So that's what the request is, as opposed to, say, official minutes that would say this is what we discussed. Is that correct? Where the whole goal or purpose of that is to help us be more prepared to discuss and make decisions with different topics?
That is correct. I'm not sure, if you've ever taken the time to look at a city council agenda, but like specific going into the packet, every single city council agenda item has a corresponding staff report that does provide a background, any legislative actions that kind of led to the reason you're discussing any particular item on that night, an analysis which goes through the data and the decision points and the pros and cons of anything that's being discussed that night. A budget impact, if there is a budget impact to the specific decision that night, and then a conclusion, which ultimately is staff's recommendation on the action for city council. So similar to that, I want to make sure that we have all commissions are afforded that same opportunity to be prepared for that meeting and have enough information to be able to make an informed decision. And that's the whole idea between a city council agenda report, and it's the same idea behind having commission reports, is that that's a large piece of it is to be able to make that decision, but also just the other piece of it is just a big it's transparency, a public transparency thing. If there's an agenda report that explains that does a little bit more of putting the agenda title into context and explaining exactly what it is that is being asked of the commission to decide or to consider or provide direction on, that gives the public, and they have an opportunity to read that before the commission meeting. That gives them the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to provide public input or tune in, and it's because it's something of interest to them.
I see. Yeah, and it makes sense. It's a great idea. So I know this is new, and I would assume that in order to achieve the transparency, you're probably going to have a group of people talking about it or working on it and developing this process, and then getting that information to us, so that we will know, okay, who is going, exactly what kind of background information, what would it look like? But like you said, we could go to our city council meeting and look at examples there.
Sure.
And it doesn't have to be complex. From my understanding, it would be very simple.
To be clear, commissioners don't prepare these reports. There's staff reports. So staff members prepare the reports. Commissioners are the policy, you're the policy advisory body. So you're not necessarily doing the work. Staff is responsible for getting that background together, putting together reports, so that you as commissioners and as policy advisors can give better direction on those items. So there's no additional work that's required from commissioners.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Okay, Julia, I know you're smiling. I see you.
We're getting Julia help pretty soon with the deputy city clerk to replace, so she won't be on her own. She'll have more help soon.
Oh, good. We need to take care of her, okay?
Hey, Suzanne, are you okay? You good?
Yes, thank you. He answered quite a bit. Thank you.
All right, Olivia.
Yeah,
you had your hand up.
I was just going to ask where the reports were going to be housed or held or available, but now I think I understand that it's part of our agenda, so it'll be where the agenda is.
Right. When you receive, I don't know what day Julia usually sends out the agenda. It's probably Friday night, or whatever night you usually send it out. I think there's 72 hours before. Instead of your pack, right now you receive the agenda and it's just the 2-page, but just like you receive for tonight, usually it's just a 2 or 3 page that lists the agenda items. There'll actually be a full packet. So it might be a 50-page packet now, because behind the agenda will be a report for each item. So you'll receive it at the same time as you receive the agenda items. It'll just be a thicker document.
But available to the public where?
On the website, sfcity.org, and then under the commission, your commission meeting,
right,
where the agendas are posted now.
Okay.
Is that all, Olivia?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Nicole.
So I guess I have a clarifying question here. I have two clarifying questions. My first clarifying question, because I do try very hard to follow Robert's rules as much as I'm able. And I feel like our commission kind of does to a certain extent, but you said we don't. So I guess I'm wondering, so do you
No,
want?
I didn't say you didn't. You may
Okay.
be
Well,
following.
the way that we don't, I guess, and so that's my question, is like we vote to end discussion. Like in Robert's rules, you have to have someone like motion to end discussion. So are you asking us to do that sort of thing before we vote on something, or no?
No, you know, basically, and that's why I think Rosenberg's rules of order are a little bit more clear. It's really, you know, you don't need to take, once discussion, the chair basically is the ceremonial head. That's, you know, within the chair's powers. Once discussion is done, you know, there's no more discussion, then they would just call for a vote, you know, call for a motion. You know, what is your motion for, you know, and again, both Rosenberg's and Robert's rules are, they're not, I mean, it's like a, you know, the theory of relativity. It's not a theory, it's actually a fact. We'll go the other way with rules of order. They're rules, but they're actually guidelines. You know, it's actually, they're not, they're just, they're suggestions on how you operate. You don't need to follow everything to a T. And really that's the idea. And that's why I think Rosenberg's rules for commissioners make a little more sense. They're not as, you know, Robert's rules, there's a lot of different provisions on how you wrestle, you know, if someone's got the floor and there's a motion that other people can take to take the floor away from you. You know, there's like in the filibuster rules. I mean, just all these archaic things that don't really apply to commissions, right? I don't think anyone's going to get up and filibuster a commission because you're not really making a legislative decisions. You're making policy advisory decisions. So you're not going to get up and start reading Moby Dick just so you can have the floor for the next, you know, 3 days. So until like a vote has to be called. So I think, you know, but again, I'm not saying that the commission's not, you know, in general following, you know, proper procedures. I'm sure you are. And if you weren't, Julia would kind of work with you to kind of fix that. I think really what it is just a training so that people understand things like, you know, well, when do I make a motion? How long do I get to discuss an item? When, you know, when a motion is made, can I have more discussion, or does there have to be a vote? You know, there's just a lot of kind of questions like that. And you know, a training video for all of, you know, all commissioners, you know, we have, you know, probably 20 commissioners between I think we have 4 commissions with 5 on each. So, you know, I think that would benefit everyone. Again,
Yeah.
I wouldn't get too stuck on whether it's Robert's rules or Rosenberg's rules. I mean, you know, your department head that's in charge will kind of help guide you if it gets a little bit off kilter. I just wanted tonight kind of put that on the radar, something we're looking into training for everyone to kind of help you with that.
My second question then, because you said it's not the commissioner's work, but so I guess that's my question in terms of the amount of detail that you want to go into the staff reports, because I think for us on the Education Commission, there's quite a bit of information that we receive that a lot of us have, I think, concerns about how much we're putting out there. So like, for example, for the student of the month or for the teacher spotlight, you know, would you want us to be putting all of the information in there? Because sometimes teachers put things in there that I don't think that they necessarily want to be all of it public. Or do you want us as the commissioners to send it, or?
You know, I think that always needs to be at the discretion of the department head and the commission. Obviously, we don't want to be including any information that, especially on the student of the month or that's supposed to be recognition. We don't want to include anything that, you know, would be insensitive to the person that's being recognized. It doesn't have to be, you know, we don't have to be public. So one of the things that I would actually recommend for some of those, I mean, the applications, I don't know how you necessarily go through choosing who's going to be the student of the month, but if there's a lot of times the best way to handle sensitive information is to have an ad hoc committee that doesn't have to be necessarily a public discussion. It can be just two commissioners. An ad hoc committee.
I was just asking if you want us as the
Yeah.
ad hoc committee to send like our full report, or just an information that we're going to be presenting it. Is that enough on the staff report, or do we have to like put our full presentation on there first?
No, I mean, again, I guess I don't really know exactly how you work it, so it doesn't.
Well, if you hang out, you'll see. So I guess maybe you can advise me there.
Well, unfortunately, I need to go after this, but
It'll be on YouTube.
but I do,
tomorrow.
but we do, it doesn't, we don't need to include, typically, if it were to, to city council, you would provide enough information that you would have sufficient information to make a decision. If there is sensitive information, that can either be redacted or not included or summarized in the staff report, as opposed to, like, if there's an application, the application doesn't necessarily have to be attached if it could just be summarized in the staff report, and leave out any sensitive information. If that makes sense. And again, Julia's pretty good. I think she has a good, obviously you need to, if there's something that shouldn't be shared, you should definitely let the department head, Julia in this case, or liaison, know that shouldn't be shared. So we'll make sure not to share it and just summarize.
Okay. You done, Nicole? You good? Okay. David.
Hey, Nick. Thanks so much again for coming.
Sure.
When I first heard about this, I completely understood the value of having some kind of institutional memory about the decisions we were making as a collective body. I think back to when I started several years ago, and we have to kind of go through our records, and then we think about what we were discussing. So to actually have the action items there on what was discussed, there's a lot of value to that. My big concern is that when I think about the exciting programs that we've developed, whether it's Student of the Month, whether it's the Principal's Brunch, a lot of that has come from kind of non-structured discussion. So there wasn't necessarily an action item attached to every agenda item. There wasn't something that was going to be decided at that moment, but rather it was kind of just a collection of weeks together where we're processing. How do we still keep that openness with allowing kind of the collaborative spirit where something doesn't have to be defined every single time we put it on the agenda, with the desire to systematize it, like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
And is
yeah, sure. So how that typically comes up, and again, the same thing will happen at city council meetings where one of the council members, or a commissioner may have an idea that they want to further explore. Like, for example, you can't necessarily vote to establish a teacher of the month recognition program if it's not agendized. Like, that's not appropriate, right? So if it comes up as say you're talking about a student of the month or a recognition program, so you're talking about something else, and something ancillary comes back and is an idea like, oh, actually we'd like to explore a teacher of the month recognition, but that's not agendized, and it's not something that you can't vote on it if it's not agendized, then you can always ask staff, you can always say, well, can you agendize for the next commission meeting a discussion on a teacher of the month program? And then for the next meeting, staff will just put together probably a relatively simple staff report that says on, X date, during this discussion, this topic XYZ came up. The commissioner, the chair and commissioners asked staff for to bring back a report with additional information, or that could be discussed. And then, this is that item. So, and just so you know, it also isn't like appropriate. And this is kind of a Robert's rules or a rules of order thing. Say, David, you have a great idea, and I want to establish a teacher recognition program. I want to have staff come back with a staff report that allows us to talk about that. You actually need to get two other commissioners to kind of nod or either verbally agree or kind of get some consensus, because one commissioner can't really provide direction, three can, right? So you need to have, that for agendizing future items like that, you would just make sure you get consensus. And usually I'm sure in this group, especially if there's an idea that comes up as an ancillary thing to another discussion, you can just say, actually, that's when Julia or whoever's running the meeting should kind of step in and say, listen, that's not really something we can decide on tonight or give direction tonight because it's not agendized. It's not part of the discussion that we have tonight. But if the commission would like, we can bring that back at the next commission meeting, agendize it separately, and you can have that discussion, right? So, so that's sort of how that would kind of work for things to come up, quote unquote, organically. Unfortunately, the Brown Act is about public transparency, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not an incubator for, an entrepreneurial incubator where ideas can get thrown around. I mean, the idea is really, you're doing public business. It needs to be transparent to the public what you're talking about. And if you start talking about something that the public didn't previous to the meeting have the opportunity to weigh in about, or at least read about and say, okay, this is something I want to talk about. You can't necessarily make a decision on that that night, but you can have staff come back at the next meeting with a separately agendized item and then make that, decision or direction or whatever you'd like to do to establish a program.
Thank you.
You good, David? Wait, ironically, I think Nick must have listened to the meeting when Teacher Spotlight was created, because that's exactly how it started.
It didn't, but yeah.
I was gonna say, we literally had to agendize it for the next meeting, but it was like, hey, we're doing this. What about that? Let's agendize it. So having been on PTO since the dawn of time, and not being the biggest fan of Robert's Rules of Order, but becoming parliamentarian more times than I want to count, I understand it. I will be happy to look up Rosenberg's Rules of Order to look for something, because one of the things that you can do with Robert's Rules of Order is you can set aside Robert's Rules of Order if you agree to do that ahead of time. But because of city, I know that's not going to be an option. I'm still going to go back to my concern with the YouTube video. That's fine. I will look it up and find it. Can we please get a notebook? We used to get this giant notebook for AB 1234, and I know it's all online now, but I still have the big booklet. But if we're talking about bringing on somebody or making sure that all the commissions are the same, I think having some kind of a booklet or a training where we're all invited to it, either as an option or as a part of us being commissioners, I think that in order to be, I've watched most of the meetings and they all are a little different, but I think for the most part, staff keeps most of us pretty honest. And it is hard as a chair when somebody's going like a freight train to kind of stop them. We don't have a parliamentarian that gets to be the nasty person. And for the sake of trying to work together. But if we can look for some kind of training for all of us, whether it starts out as the chairs and the vice chairs, or if it's, just all 5 commissioners invited to it, I think that would be helpful. Because, I know that when our commission was started, we've had a very robust agenda for a very long time. Now, there's nothing in here that says the meeting should be shortened or limited in scope. If it's agendized, our meetings don't want to go 2 hours, but if we need them to go 2 hours, as we will for like scholarship stuff, and it does happen, there's nothing about the staff reports or anything else that's going to limit us in terms of what we need to do.
Right. It's just you're right. You can go 6 hours if you want. I'm sure.
No,
Julia, but it's not. No. Yeah, these are the standardizing is more about just making sure everyone has the right information and transparency in discussions. It's not at all about limiting limiting the work that you all do or the ideas or the collaboration. I think that's all great. It's just making sure that we do it in a structured fashion, and that's it.
All right.
In regards to training, actually, and what I can do is I'll share with Julia the YouTube video that it's funny because we have a Lieutenant Rosenberg. So when we say Rosenberg's rules, we all kind of immediately
We have to be clear.
we go to him. He's not the one that invented these rules of order. So I'll share that video. It's actually the guy that sort of developed them that gives that YouTube video. I watched it for about 3 minutes, and then I kind of scrubbed forward to kind of see if it had like cartoons or something a little bit more. But it's a little stodgy in that it's like a guy standing in like a court, like a city council, like kind of talking at you for an hour. So I'm trying to find something a little more engaging that might be easier to work through with everybody. And the all of the other trainings as far as like AB 1, 2, 3, 4 and all that, we're working on sort of an onboarding, like an onboarding pamphlet that we could share with council. I mean, obviously in commissioners, you also have the Form 700, the AB 1, 2, 3, 4 training. And do commissioners have to do Form 700, Julia? Okay.
Yes.
And then, obviously some other tools we want to give you. So, that's kind of the next step, is just working on a kind of a training program for everyone, kind of baby steps here. And I do want to say, like, I don't think any of the commissioners are commissions, Transportation Commission or Planning Commissioner necessarily doing anything, I think they're all doing great work. I just want to make sure we kind of have some consistency among all of them and really continue to foster the great work that all the commissions, really do.
All right.
Can I just share something?
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Thank you. I love the idea of that training program where we can have a knowledge of how a commission works, in a general aspect. Because I know when I started on board, I was doing all kinds of stuff. They said, and I was one of them that said, Suzanne, no, we can't do that. Suzanne, no, we have to do that. Suzanne, you have to do this. So I truly think that that's a good idea. So I thank you for bringing this to us. And if there's anything that, I can do, please let me know, or the commission, if the commission can do anything, because it would make us do our work more efficiently. And also, Commissioner Govea did bring up a good point about the creativity and the freeness of discussion for the type of work that we do. So if we can still develop a system where we can say, okay, we can do this, we can have a discussion period. This is great, this is discussion period. We can use all our creativity there and then say, okay, so what do we do with the discussion? So, we do that already, but I think if we're more knowledgeable about a template of how it's done, once again, I think we'll be more efficient. Thank you for that.
Sure.
All right, are we all okay?
Well, and commissioners, under general commissioner
Yeah.
comments, is ideally where you would bring up a subject of, I would like to agendize for discussion, etc. So that's always the format where you're more than welcome to bring up that discussion under general commissioner comments.
Yeah, that's right. As the city clerk said, those are a little bit more free form general commissioner comments. So that's, you can't necessarily engage where, like, if David wants to bring up an idea, you can't have a discussion back and forth, but he could bring up an idea. And if a couple other commissioners like, yeah, I think that's a good idea, I want to explore it more, then it would come back at a future commission meeting for more additions. So that is another opportunity to have some, to agendize like an idea that might come up, sort of free form.
All right, can we let Nick go?
I think Commissioner Moore had a question. I saw she had her hand up.
I just
Sorry.
want to second the binder request. Look, I know it's 2021 and a binder seems old fashioned, but when I joined the Transportation Commission, I did get a binder and I still use that very regularly. It had all of the descriptions and everything that you're talking about, how to do everything. And like and it had a tab for each like traffic reports and everything like that. And I still refer back to all that. So if we could have binders, I know it's old school and it's paper, but it would be so
It'd be very good.
I like No, I'm a big fan of hard copies and binders, actually. But was that you just got that one time when you started, Commissioner Moore?
Yeah,
So
it had
I will check.
protocols, all the stuff. It had the history of the minutes from the stuff that I missed. It had like the 3 or 4 years of collision reports and stuff like that in it.
Yeah, I'll check with Maria Padilla. We'll check with her to see what they passed out, for the commissioners, because there might be some good information in there that we can share with all commissions.
Sounds like it. All right, let's let Nick go home.
Thank you all. I don't get to go home. I just can't stay here. Right?
Okay, then don't stay here. Thank you so much, Nick.
Right. See y'all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, discussion and possible action regarding an update on the principal's outreach letter.
There was a staff report in the packet for that. And that staff report included, did everyone, I'm sorry, something's happening with my video, so I keep going in and out. And let's see, the staff report included the background information and, a copy of the letter. And basically, there are so far, only 3 letters that have come back as undeliverable. And with your, consensus, I'm just going to go ahead and verify that the address is correct. Unless you have more information or perhaps complete information. The address and the contact information is correct on the envelopes. So it just says return to sender, not deliverable. So I can.
Is it possible? Yeah, is it possible to get the names of those that came back? I just wondered.
Yes, that was in the
it's
packet.
in there. Okay. Okay.
I only got
a copy of those 3, but I mean, just for the record, it's Volunteers of America. Let's see, Nueva Esperanza Charter Academy, Kids First Learning Center.
I'm sorry, and the last one?
Kids First Learning Center.
Okay, I was just asking Julia because I usually update that list, and so I'll look into that.
Okay, so the list that is also attached in the staff report, is that the list that you're talking about?
Yes.
Commissioner? This
Yes.
list? Wonderful. Okay. Great. And this evening, staff is just having a discussion. I'll go ahead and research the 3 undeliverables and see if I can get in touch with somebody and see if we can resend it. There's also the fact that in the past, the outreach letters were also emailed to the principals. And unfortunately, I was not aware of that. So I just sent it through the mail. But I'm more than happy to go ahead and, drop it in an email and send that as well. If you're all in agreement.
Do you want us to take a vote, or do you want us to all nod? Just nod?
No,
Okay. If you need help writing a little note to go with it, a little additional information is apparently I checked with one of the principals to make sure they got it, and LAUSD is holding their mail because they're not on site. So they will be getting a letter, but they're not all LAUSD schools. So some of the people got it, and the one principal, Julia, there was a transition. One principal's come in.
Yes.
And she's been made aware of our meetings. So somebody reached out. So the letters did reach somebody.
Yes, they did.
So for clarity, can we email it out?
Pardon me?
For clarity, can it be emailed as well?
Yes, that's what I plan on, if commission wants to, have me email that letter to the roster, then I'll go ahead and do that as well.
Yeah, I think that it initially it was kind of a save the date that was emailed out. And then they were actually invited to the brunch. So
Oh,
with us sending a letter, the assumption of it being two things and not one thing. But if we're all in agreement that Julia can send them out by email, we're all good?
yeah, I will just email out to the
Okay,
list.
thank you.
Um,
All right.
that's not a problem. Thank you.
All right. Now we are on to number 4, discussion and selection of March 2021 Student of the Month.
Great, so I'll leave this. All right, guys, so for this month of March, we were doing our Student of the Month, focusing on creative kind of artistic abilities. We received 7 applications, 2 from the middle school or K through 8, and then 6 from, or 4 from, or 5 from high school level. The ad hoc committee did meet, and we both had an agreement on the K through 8, and her name is Ariana, and I'll go ahead and read her description. Ariana is a 6th grade student who not only takes her weekly assignments very seriously, but also goes beyond the basic instructions and requirements. She is constantly exploring new artistic possibilities by experimenting with all kinds of art media, from simple clay and paper to digital drawings and video editing. So there was another kindergarten student, but Ariana just kind of stood out a little bit more. So I would like to put a motion forward to accept Ariana as our K through 8 San Fernando Student of the Month.
I will second.
Okay, I will call for the vote.
Thank you.
Commissioner Robledo,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Llamas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Govea,
Yes.
and Chair Zolba Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Great. And so there was some discussion, and we would like guidance from the rest of the commission on the high school nominee, because there was 5 of them, so it's kind of harder to choose. So we have 2 students that we narrowed it down to. We have the student Arlene, who I'll read, and then we have another student, Marco. So Arlene is a hardworking and dedicated student. First of all, she's a senior, so 12th grader. Arlene is a hardworking and dedicated student in and out of the classroom. She's enrolled in AP Studio Art, where she's currently working on further developing her artistic style. She's a high performing both in academics as well as creativity. So some additional information: she not only juggles high school and college classes, she helps with childcare and supports her family at home as well. So she just seems like a super hardworking person. The fact that she's an AP Studio Art usually is a reflection of not only the quality of her work, but might even have a hope or desire to pursue that as a professional career. So obviously that's a person that I think we're kind of envisioning when we have that. But then this other student, Marco, who's also a senior. Marco is the publicity chair. He is very talented, graphic designer, constantly working on event flyers for our school's social media page. He's a very responsible young man that uses his skills to keep his peers informed and help build a sense of community during distance learning. And just side information is the student has also been accepted to Harvard University. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, the fact that he's using his skill sets, during this time to inform his students. I know how important the visuals are with kind of social media outreach, especially at the high school level. So this student kind of stood out to us as well. So on that note, we're going to put the burden on the rest of the commission rather than just the ad hoc. And what do you guys think? What do you vote for, Marco or Arlene? Both obviously very qualified. We win it either way. They don't, but I wish we could give them all to everybody, but this is the hard part of this. So yeah, we'll start with the chair. You always have the privilege of being first.
You guys aren't even going to give us a tip your hand on which way you were leaning?
No. They're both good.
I like them both. And I love that one is going to Harvard. I think I'm going to lean towards Arlene.
Okay, great. Olivia?
Okay, I also like them both. But something popped into my head about, I guess, balance or equity. Have we had other young men receive our award? I can't remember, to be honest with you.
This award was won at the secondary level by a gentleman named Carl last year.
Okay, but during this year.
It's been very female heavy, and it has been continuously since we started
Okay.
the program.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna lean towards, what was his name?
Marco.
Marco.
Marco. Okay. Susan?
I think I'm gonna have to excuse myself on this one, because I don't feel like I have enough background information on the kids. I know that, you read what you have, but the theme is creative, it's creative artistic. And I kind of think that I would like to see some of their works and what they put out there. And since I don't have that, I don't think I could make as good a decision as maybe the ad hoc committee. So I'm gonna excuse myself. Can I do that?
You could, I mean, but you have as much information as we do, and we're basing our decisions off the same stuff. One student is pursuing AP Studio Art. One student is using his skills for his leadership position in student government.
If I can.
Yeah, we don't know what they look like. We don't know how creative and what they're, any of that. So we're basing it off the same info as you. So I would push you to try to make a decision.
Okay, and with that being said, then I will go with Arlene then.
Okay, great.
The reason that I was torn was because the person who nominated Marco, was it Marco or Marcos?
I think it was Marco.
Marco.
It was Marco, yeah.
Marco, the person who nominated Marco gave a very clear depiction of how they're using the artistic ability. That he is using his artistic ability for graphic design, and to use his graphic design to make a difference in his community and promote school activities that are happening during distance learning. And so I was like, all right, that's really clear. We can almost picture it. Whereas AP Studio Art is more of a challenge to be completed at home, but we just didn't get any information about what the student's specific talent is. And so while the AP Studio Art sounds like quite the challenge, and I'm sure it's challenging from home, and I'm very proud of this student, especially because the student is facing adversity with having to also participate in childcare duties and things like that. I lean towards Marco because there's a specific detail about how the artistic skill is utilized, like what the art is. So I guess my vote's Marco.
Kind of fall to
All right,
David.
two. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with this. I've worked with students who are taking AP Studio Art, so I know firsthand how challenging that is. I think about this category, and this category is really designed for the creative student. This category is designed for the artistic student. And so I do get flyer design is super important, but I don't see that is necessarily the career path that Marco's going down. I see this being one of these possible tipping points for Arlene, being that this is potentially the route that she's taking, and to be acknowledged in front of City Council for her artistic abilities as San Fernando Student of the Month, I think can have more of a transformative effect on the kind of direction of her life, like confirming or reaffirming maybe her dedication to art. So that's my kind of view on it. So I vote for Arlene. So on a 3-2, it looks like we as a commission has decided to approve Arlene as our 9 through 12 San Fernando Student of the Month for the month of March. Can I get a second?
Is that your official motion then?
That's my official motion. Sorry. Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay, roll call.
Yes. Commissioner Robledo,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Llamas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Govea,
Yes.
Chair Zobel Rodriguez.
Yes.
Awesome. Great. So it passes. So next couple of things, and I do want to appreciate Julia for the agenda, the way it's written out for this item. Definitely is a lot clearer, I think, for both ourselves and the public. But so the next thing we have to discuss is who wants to attend. I'm more than willing to attend if one of you would like the opportunity to be there and introduce the student of the month. I think there's a lot of special value. This last one that we had, Commissioner Moore, do you want to comment on it?
Oh my gosh, guys. It was so cute. So we had two kindergartners. And at the end, when Mayor Ballin thanked little Mia, she goes, "It's been my pleasure." It was maybe the highlight of my week. So, that was a wonderful experience that I got to enjoy last month. So I will probably be happy to give it up to anybody else. But I'm always happy to do it again. But it was so adorable.
Great. Is there any other volunteers? If not, I'm more than willing to do it.
I have a class on Monday night, so if you want to do it, David, if we don't have any other volunteers, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll take care of that, and I'll handle the donation as well. We'll do the horchata lecture and get that ready for them. Yeah, beyond that, I just want to go over April's just so we know. We basically only have 2 more that we are doing. So with April and May, we don't award one in June. So April is, this should be an interesting one. Special circumstances. So we kind of debating on the name. I'll work with the ad hoc on it. Challenge, obstacles, resilience, perseverance. So we'll clearly define that for the applicants, but that's going to be our April. So I'll be sending that out as soon as the month turns over, and I'll be emailing the 2 recipients for our next city council meeting, or the second meeting in March, to award them, acknowledge them, and I'll be there to.
Would that be the 15th?
Let me see here, so I can make sure there's no any special dates. If staff could confirm, but it looks like it would be the 15th. Yeah, I don't see any holidays.
Yes, our next meeting, city council meeting, is March 15th. And I do want to forewarn you that our agenda is extremely full already.
Do we have one on the 29th?
Is that, I was going to ask, is that spring break for LAUSD March 15th? Does anybody have their calendar?
It's the 29th of spring break for LAUSD.
Okay, that would be my only concern.
Yeah.
But the 15th is okay. I mean, if
I'm sorry, we would not have a meeting on the 29th.
Right.
Right. Okay. We will only have first and third Mondays.
Right. We're just trying to make sure that we don't schedule the date for the day that the kids might not be in town. Theoretically, no one's traveling. However, we can't, we can't ask a teacher to be in attendance on a day they aren't necessarily working.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the first is just it's again a few days from now. So I want to feel comfortable with this. So we're gonna have to do the 15th. And we'll try to. Yeah, I know how long some of those meetings can go. I know when I was at a couple months ago, we didn't get started until about an hour.
Super short last time. I think if we keep it super short again, it'll probably be okay, right?
I can see it's very difficult. You want to allow them, especially when they're little kindergartners, to give them that opportunity to say hello, and it's been my pleasure. So with that in mind, just putting it out there, our agendas are extremely packed over the next 2 city council meetings. If there was one that would be preferred, then obviously I don't think we can put anything together by Monday. Could we, Commissioner Govea?
I don't think so. No. Yeah, because I'd have to. We're already on Wednesday, and I have to confirm. Yeah, I don't think we'll be able to do that.
Yeah. So it would appear that March 15th. Otherwise, if you don't do it on March 15th, then our next meeting will be all the way on April 5th.
Yeah, let's do March 15th. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to kind of push that on, but I think just for continuity's sake.
No.
What we'll do as a commission is we'll evaluate. If we're still doing Zoom, come maybe next academic year, maybe it's something that we just want to acknowledge them here in our commission meetings. If it's interfering too much with city council, I think there's a lot of value with meeting the mayor and having, other council members say some really nice words and stick with him. But maybe we'll have some kind of flexibility in the future for that. But I think let's continue on March 15th if the rest of the commission's okay.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be concerned that if we moved it to April 5th, then that meeting will be also jam-packed. Not that we want to wish that on you, Julia, but I've seen a couple of the meetings that have been split now. So that's, you know, I don't want to see us try to prevent a problem and then be part of the problem further down the road.
I feel it's a refreshing part of the meeting. So yeah, I'm more than happy to put it on March 15th.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
I'll work with you on that.
Okay.
So we're moving on. We're good. We're ready to roll. All right. Item 5, discussion and possible action regarding the 2020-2021 scholarship and related matters.
So I guess I can take the lead on this, commissioners and Chair Robledo. There have been so far, let me just pull up, I want to share my screen.
I feel like we should do a drum roll.
I know, sorry.
No. I kind of know the excitement part, so I'm trying not to be like really geeked about this. So.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
All right. So to date, as everyone knows, the essay for submission date has passed last Friday, February 19th. And as of that date, I have completed this little tally sheet here. The Gabriel Fernandez Memorial received 15 essays. And I put this column in here to show that what was received just as a little comparison from last year. Elias Rodriguez Memorial, 14. Why Not You, 5. Barack Obama Scholarship, 7. Future Entrepreneurs, 2. STEM, 3. Unheard Voices, 6. And Republic Services, 3. So as I said, here's just a quick comparison as of for last year and this year. And you know that we did not have STEM and Unheard Voices as its own scholarship, so that doesn't apply. And I took that out of this number. So, you know, it didn't seem like COVID hurt those students too much applying this year. We have a total of 55 applications. So I think that's a very good turnout.
And just for clarification, the STEM scholarship is the Environmental Sustainability Scholarship.
Yes.
This, because the Barack Obama is also, that's got an extremely long name, but it's Barack Obama Si Se Puede STEM. So that's the one from last year that's sponsored by Councilmember Pacheco. The number 7 is the Environmental Sustainability that is sponsored by former Mayor Fajardo. But guys, we have 55. So
it's a great news. It's awesome.
It's fantastic news.
Mm-hmm.
We were so concerned, and I would love to have hundreds, but I will gladly take 55.
So, Chair and Commissioners, I do have also, and I'm not sure if this, I believe this is the meeting that you would assign essays or the number of essays to each commissioner. Am I correct?
That's usually done kind of privately.
It's kind of privately. At this meeting, we would let you know if there are, and we would say if we needed to recuse ourselves from any particular schools or students, so that when you provide them the scholarships plus certain council or commissioners prefer hard copy printed out, and some commissioners prefer electronic copies. So
let me clarify.
Okay.
It's not reading the essays and providing your tally. It is just assigning, for instance, the student number 1 for the Gabriel Fernandez is GF1.
To each, to essentially
Right.
create many small ad hocs.
So this actually does kind of need to happen privately because we're not supposed to know who they are.
Okay.
But you have to go, okay, so like I will speak up first and put into the record that I'm fairly certain, given that I hounded every single senior at the school that I work, which is Vaughn, and the extent to which I hounded them was fairly profound. So I am fairly certain that there are some Vaughn voices in there, and I know the senior class very well. So I will need to recuse myself from all Vaughn students.
Okay.
So you can't
I will
assign
so note that. All Vaughn students.
all Vaughn students.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. It's a small school.
And I'm also a high school senior teacher, so I did send this out to my students. So anything from Puck, Triumph Charter High School. There's likely not very many. Most of our students are in Sylmar, but I know there's a handful that are residents. So Puck, Triumph Charter High School, if any were received, I can not read those.
Commissioner Gouvet, could you please repeat those 2 schools again?
It's one. So Puck, PUC, Triumph Charter High School.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I have made notes.
Olivia or Suzanne, are there any that you feel that you would need to recuse yourself from?
I don't know the students personally, so I think I'm okay. If I don't know who the students are. I do
And
have to
you
share
won't
that. I'm sorry?
And you won't know until after they win. So if you don't feel that you have a personal relationship with the students, then if you're comfortable with it, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with it. When it comes to communication, I did send out emails, giving them the more, how should I say, letting them know that, encouraging them to apply. But once again, I don't know the students, so I'm okay with it.
I'm recusing myself just because, like, especially the unheard voices one, like I'm a GSA advisor and I know several of my GSA students qualify. So if I read those essays, I will probably be able to tell kind of who's who. So,
and that's a good teacher right there. You're awesome.
So just talking to them, telling them about
Nicole, over the years, I've recognized kids that I haven't seen since elementary school that were when the pool was wider and we could go to other high schools. There was literally a kid at a different high school in the very far West Valley that I knew who it was as soon as they read the first line of his essay. If you know a kid, you know a kid. So we always want to be transparent in this part where we're saying that people are not recused. I've never up until this year. I knew kids that were at Van Nuys and Granada, and now the kids are far enough out that I don't know them anymore. So I don't feel the need to recuse. I'd be shocked if there's anybody from Van Nuys that applied, but I don't see that I would need to recuse. Olivia, do you have anybody or anything that you have concerns with?
Nope.
Okay.
No. Thank you. No.
Okay, so that is a little bit more direction. I will follow up, Julia, with an email just to double check.
Okay.
Also,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Rodriguez, if you do feel though that you would like to recuse me from any of the students from the school, I'm okay with that too. So whatever you decide is
honestly, if you don't have personal contact and you don't know their personal stories, it's not likely, but because of Nicole's role, I totally understand.
Okay, just wanted to share.
All right.
So commissioners, my next step would be to individually work on the essay, I guess the assignment of the essays individually with each commissioner.
Well, last year we
Is
all
it-
just got a lovely email that was like, it wasn't like we have any say in it. Like
Right.
it just went through and was like, here are your essays, read them, grade them.
Right.
Okay.
If, Julia, if you go back to the form before this one or after this one, the one that had like, I think it's Gabriel Fernandez, and it has the five of us listed on it. And the theoretical essays going down the left-hand side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
we go, yes.
okay. So there are 15 of them, right? There's 15. You know that
Yes.
you're going to randomly assign them. If you randomly assign, you could either choose to eliminate the Vaughn or choose to select the Vaughn ones first and avoid dropping any of those in Nicole's column, or you can go the other way, is assign them all, then double check them. And then if there's any that, then you can switch.
I think your first suggestion is
It's probably the easiest, is if you know
pull them out first.
And the goal is that there's parity, because there's gonna be 15 essays, so there's gonna be 30 essays in the boxes. And there's just gonna be 2 in going across. Each one of these numbers will only have two people in them. So,
Okay.
and we can help, because this doesn't have any information on it personally. If you want one of us to come in and spot check, since this city is so large, we can be there in 3 minutes to double check, just to double check that the numbers add up this way and that it looks right.
Yes, I will absolutely send that over to you.
Okay.
Okay, so what is there? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you, Chair, would you like to see the budget that I emailed you this afternoon?
Yeah, before we get to that, there are 2 that have like 2 and 3 in them.
Okay.
And we may end up with where there's only a couple of, because we're not going to be able to send to every single, we may end up kind of dividing those up, if that makes sense, commission, because there's I don't want to see anybody, I don't want to see any of us reading just one essay and trying to rate or rank a single essay, if that makes sense. I'd like to think that we have at least 2 to look at in a particular category. Does that make sense?
So what are you suggesting?
That perhaps like future entrepreneurs and the sustainability one, or something, that 2 of us read future entrepreneurs and 3 of us read sustainability or whatever, so that you may not get every single topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we understand that. Like
Yeah.
there were some that we didn't read, like a Why Not You from last
Right,
round.
exactly. Okay, there might not be, just because if we get one essay, it's very hard to rank and rate a single essay. You kind of need at least 2 to weigh on it. So I'm just saying that out loud, and then we can, and also because this is Julia's first time doing this, there will be some that not all 5 commissioners read, just because of the number that are in an essay, the number that are of essayists or applications that we have. And if that's then if you have the budget, just so that we see it, we're not assigning any money tonight. We're just looking at the budget.
And what you see before you is the general ledger of our accounting. software program. It's not thrown in Excel in any fancy way, shape, or form. And as you can see right here,
It's actually, I think,
can you
frozen
see
on the
screen?
previous. You can't see it.
Yeah, I think maybe you're only sharing one tab.
I think I'm actually frozen.
Your video is not working either.
I'm going to stop sharing real quick, and my video is turned off. Okay, let me try to grab that again. Is that better?
Hey, yes.
Yay! Okay, so as I was in any shape or form, and I cut out again. Can you see the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, there I am. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with my system. Okay.
I don't want to jinx with Spectrum. Okay, so this is the money that's been coming in, but it's not, I sent you the Excel spreadsheet from December, that it looks like these amounts would have to be added to at least the anything that was past December 15th. So I see a December 23rd, a December 31st, and another December 31st that might need to be added to the amounts so that we know the scholarship amounts when we go to report, and then anything as you're scrolling down from there. And oh boy, there's more. So yeah, all of that would have to be attached to the correct accounts
Mhm.
in that spreadsheet so that we know how much we're dealing with for each scholarship.
And Julie, I don't know if you're speaking or not, but we can't hear you.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay,
There we go.
Yeah, we've seen,
I really don't know what's wrong with my. I'm just okay. Can you hear me though?
yes.
Okay, that's all that matters then. So what I can do, commissioners, is put together the budget that Chair Zobo Rodriguez was speaking of, where it itemizes how much is in each scholarship fund.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I can just go ahead and email that worksheet or that budget if you would kindly give me until middle of next week.
Yeah, we
Take your
don't.
time.
Yeah, we don't need the official version until we're actually awarding the scholarships. But if you want to send it to David and I as the scholarship ad hoc in order to make sure that it looks right based on the December information plus what should be added in there. I am not an accountant. I don't play one on TV, but I would definitely want to make sure that we're looking at all the right numbers.
Okay, so I will first share the scholarship budget with chair and vice chair, and then from there we'll take it to the next step.
I think that works.
Okay.
I have a clarifying question. So
Sure.
I think I'm thrown off because last year was my first year and all of our meetings got canceled until I think we were the first commission to meet. Last time we ended up meeting the first week of May, I don't remember, was our goal to have our discussion and make our decisions in the end of March, or are we at the end of April?
We were the very first victims of COVID.
Right. So
we were supposed to come to that meeting in March and assign the scholarships, and then that gives us 2 months to plan for the thing. So we weren't sure whether we were going to have to open up or continue to keep the scholarships open, but we have 55. And I remember your words from last year where We talked about the students who applied on time should be given the respect for their applications and not open it up again to try to get more when these kids broke their butts to get them in on time. So we would be making that assignment. What we do need to figure out is that we're supposed to have an event, and I would love to have an event, but I don't think it's going to be realistic that any time in May that there's going to be enough vaccination that we can say that there's going to be an event. And one of the suggestions that was made by a former city staffer who was our liaison, who is also a college student, is instead of doing cupcakes, which are lovely, that the possibility be that we kind of come up with some kind of a college survival kit of some sort that we would need to come up with and plan for, because we're not going to be able to have an event. I'd love to do yard signs. I think the yard signs are adorable, but if I have to pay $20 a yard sign, is that something we want to do as a commission? Or would we like to take that money and put that towards something that's more valuable to them? Those are questions that we have to kind of come up with and decide for the scholarship event as part of the scholarship. We award the scholarships and we used to award them at an event. We can't have the event.
We haven't really agendized that tonight though, or so we can't really discuss it, right? Or is that part of this discussion?
It's supposed to be part of this general thing, but we can steer away from it. I just want to make sure that we're aware that that's part of the next step for scholarship that we're working on.
I was just thinking maybe we could, you and David as the ad hoc can totally figure it out, but just my 2 cents was maybe if we could do some sort of socially distanced stand in front of City Hall with balloons and let them drive by and applaud them at least on a specific date, like what would have been the night thing. You know, I feel like the drive-through type things are becoming pretty popular and relatively safe, that maybe there's something like that that we could do that would honor them and feel exciting.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's something we could probably discuss, because I like that idea a lot. I think maybe we should work with city staff and see what's possible. But I think if you and I kind of chop it up and think about, what's the best kind of gift for them, and how we're going to distribute that, we can bring that maybe to our next meeting, or maybe,
Perfect.
discuss more closely in April.
Perfect.
May I also add within this topic, at the end of the sentence, discussion and consideration regarding the 2020-21 scholarship and related matters.
Very cool.
So that is where you can discuss the related
related to COVID and related to celebrating and related to they're getting scholarships and we are going to celebrate them. We just have to figure out how. So I'm on board with standing outside and holding up balloons.
That sounds fun. I'm sorry. That sounds really very positive.
You take up the whole block. I don't care.
Drive past City Hall with us being like, woohoo!
We have money for them in a little package. Like, how cool would that be for them? Something to look forward to.
With their names on it, and I'm not talking like $20 yard signs. I'm talking butcher paper and paint here.
Right. I mean, I love the yard signs. There's still yard signs around here. I love that idea, but I feel like there's got to be something better that we can put towards that on top of their scholarship money. So I would, if that's what we decide, that's what we decide. But honestly, I want to send these kids off the best way we can. And I know that this class has struggled so much. So I really do want to celebrate them. And if we can get council members out there, if we can get city staff out there, if we can get the police to stand out there and do the sirens, I don't care. I'm all good. So we will, David and I will work on it. And if anybody has any suggestions, we can come up with it for the next meeting. But we have 55 essays to read. I am so excited.
All right.
And
this
is a huge shout out to all the people who nagged. And if that's Nicole and David, along with people at other schools we know, if you nagged, if you were part of the nagging crew, we are so grateful to you. So if we have no other items, we can move on. Are we good?
Olivia has a question.
Oh, Olivia, I'm sorry, Olivia, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to, I guess, contribute an idea. As you know, I'm part of a group called Comisión Femenil. We also give scholarships on an annual basis. What we have our recipients do is we have a drive up, and we have like an area where they actually take a photo with their certificate, and so that's something like they can take home with them, or they receive it from us. And I remember at the park, parents wanting all these pictures with people from the city. And so they take a picture of the mayor, or they take a picture with someone. So I think that for families, if we do have that drive-by, and if we're there or the city people are there, I think that's what's meaningful to them. Mm-hmm. And then we give them a bundt cake that is decorated with graduation things for their family. And so we hand them the cake, we take the picture at the photo place, and then we give them, I wrap up flowers for them. And so they take that home too. But I think that if we got them, I love the survival kit idea. I think that's a great idea. And it could be, at a very attractive, you can fix it really nicely. So anyway, that's kind of what we do.
Okay, we may pick your brain at the next meeting so we can get more, but we have plenty of time before we would be awarding whatever that would be by May, after APs and after all the other testing. So, all right, if we are okay, we can move on. We okay?
Yes, I wish you could see me nodding yes.
Okay, it's okay, I appreciate it. General Commissioner comments.
I'll start. March 1st, get your vaccines, teachers, educational staff, people working on campus. Looks like we're, maybe opening some campuses before the end of the school year. So definitely protect yourself. There's a great county website that has a link to all the different locations that you can get it at.
Okay, Suzanne.
I have no
Olivia?
comment tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Olivia?
Well, I'm just going to mention that it's more of an announcement. I hope that's okay or appropriate. It is that scholarship for Comisión Femenil. Our website has the information, and it's open to Latina young women that are from the San Fernando Valley. And we have a special one this year dedicated to the culinary pathway. And so that is an unusual scholarship. It's actually being done in honor of my sister who passed away last March. And so instead of flowers, people donated to a scholarship. So we have 2 scholarships for $2,000 for anyone going into culinary arts. And like I say, it's an unusual scholarship. So if any of you know of young ladies who are going into this field, we realize that culinary school is very expensive. And so that's why we made them for $2,000, but pass the word along.
We will absolutely do so. Thank you. Nicole?
I just want to publicly thank former council member Fajardo for the extra scholarships that are on there this year, especially because when I saw that Unheard Voices one got 6, I literally nearly burst into tears. I'm going to start crying right now. I'm just, before COVID, I was working with Angela Padilla from Fundamental Health, which is a mental health organization that helps raise money for things like therapy and awareness for people who cannot have it. And they also do trainings on like mental health first aid, like how to respond to mental health emergencies. And we were working together on a mental health event to plan within the city to invite people, to youth to come and, their voices be heard. And COVID left them unheard. So the fact that the scholarship is called Unheard Voices means a lot to me. And I was really happy to see 6 on there. And I'm really glad that we're going to be awarding that this year. So that is my public comment.
I have to make a phone call to somebody that helped us wordsmith that, because I know she's gonna be pretty excited too, and I'm not gonna cry, but I probably will anyway. This week would have been Gabriel Fernandez's 16th birthday. So I saw that on the news, and I just want to adjourn this meeting in his honor, but also so much of what we do started with his loss. So, we keep going, and we keep, making meaningful connections for people based on that horrible act. But he'd be driving. So, we see a little tiny face looking at us, and there are lives that, don't get to have those memories of graduations and things. So it just kind of struck pretty hard when I saw that. So I would like to adjourn the meeting when we do adjourn in his honor. So on staff communications, Julia.
Yes, Chair and Commissioners, I actually don't have any staff updates as far as what's going on with the city. As you know, there's new COVID related orders that have come out. City Manager's office will be issuing an executive order of some sort. I don't know the details of it, and it's actually agendized for this Monday's meeting. And let me see, unless you have any questions, that's really all the update I have.
Okay, if that's all we have, then we're at everybody's favorite part of the meeting. So we will adjourn to the next regular meeting on March 30th, 2021, where we will be awarding monies. So I would like to adjourn this in memory of Gabriel Fernandez, and this week being his 16th birthday. So we just need to do a roll call vote.
I will second, and yeah, roll call.
All right, Commissioner Robledo,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Llamas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Govea,
Yes.
Chair Zobel Rodriguez.
Thank you, and yes.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Everybody.